Welcome to Evolving Ideas. I'm Elaine Smitha. We have a very fascinating show for you with John Hutchison, who is the creator, inventor, scientist from Vancouver in Canada, BC. And on this show, we're going to be looking at some discoveries in zero-point energy, which is the new frontier of discovery of how energy can be achieved and utilized from a source that they never thought possible. Join me in welcoming John Hutchison.
Elaine?
And you're here with your Superman shirt.
I got my Superman shirt, yes.
Yay!
Just sort of flew in. Whoops.
You flew in from outer space, right? John, we have a new audience for this show, and I want to make sure that they know some of your history. In 1979, you came up with a wonderful anti-gravity kind of mechanism that turned the world on its heels, and they all looked at you and said, "Wow, this guy's done something nobody else has done."
That's the impression I kind of get.
Mm-hmm. And you're actually a legend in your own time.
Good heavens.
Because many times, really, scientists are not acknowledged, or even artists in the time of their life. Sometimes it's an afterthought, and it's like, wow, they did some really good work, but you were already being acknowledged, and that's fantastic. Even for 20 years now, you've been acknowledged since 1979. That's really awesome. Well, the discoveries started at an early time, didn't they? With having investors, and you have a photo here of a group of Japanese. Was this taken in?
My goodness! At the front of the big, we were guests of 40,000 people. It was Fukuoka, I believe, where the main temple of Tsukio Makakari temple was, and that's Yin and yours truly with the Japanese people that are part of the operating of this temple, and it was bringing in the springtime, and it was quite an most incredible thing. It's right out of a fantasy, this whole thing, because...
Well, how did this come about?
Just one of many days of these encounters with the Japanese folk. This particular incident, we were told we're just simply going sightseeing. Oh, we're going sightseeing? Oh, we just wear blue jeans, and so we're going out sightseeing, and they always use taxis. So we started to go up this huge mountain, and I saw this structure getting larger and larger. I'm thinking, that's sightseeing, I guess. But what struck me odd was that they had outside an honor guard, which I learned later. They had the streets lined with people. I thought, well, what's this?
Really? My God.
I'm thinking, what?
Is this an official visit or something?
Actually, it was. Yin and I were rushed into the main auditorium where there was about 40,000 people there, and they had interpreters to translate all that into English for us. And I felt like I was really, literally in Alice in Wonderland. I have never seen anything as spectacular as this huge, massive room, and these aquarium tanks, big, massive aquarium tanks. And this curtain coming up, and a miniature version of that inside the structure.
Wow.
I was looking at the colors and the lighting, I was like, what the heck? So, it was a celebration of bringing in spring.
How lovely. What a charming time to... that's wonderful.
It was cherry blossom time. Yeah. A special event in Japan.
Oh my goodness. Well, that is really fantastic. Well, I'm glad we could share that with the viewers. That's really romantic, isn't it?
It is a romantic thing that you cannot forget it, these things that happen in Japan.
So, were you there in Japan at the invitation of the Japanese people, or?
Yep. It was for a lecture tour from Tokyo down to Kagoshima.
And so what was it that you were talking about at that time?
Well, I was talking on the topic of the Hutchison Effect.
Which is, for this audience, is...
levitation and
anti-gravity devices.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And my second tour was with Brian O'Leary, a very close friend of mine.
And Brian O'Leary is a former astronaut.
Mm-hmm. And former presidential advisor to Jimmy Carter. Mm-hmm. And a very human person. So we got together and were invited to the 50th anniversary at Hiroshima City to present technologies, which I did do, and which Brian presented his work too, which is quite an adventure.
So your fame spread abroad.
Yeah.
And as a result, you have a list of business cards from the Japanese. And this is business cards are a very interesting thing with the Japanese.
Yes, I kind of gathered that.
Do you know how that works?
Well, I know they give me a card, and I made sure I had a lot of ammunition to give back, like my card. Yeah.
Well, the story, as I understand it with the Japanese and business cards, is that when you give them your business card, they will hold it in front of them, or they will place it in front of them. And if there's somebody else who comes in who gives them a business card, they will set it next to that. And they keep that in front of them all the time while they're talking with you, so they can always acknowledge who you are, know who you are, and your name is always there in front of them. So placement of these cards has to do with, say, the first person who comes in, the second person who comes in, where you might be sitting, and they're always there. I tell you this because I've known that there's been something with business cards with the Japanese, and I was at a conference this last fall, and a woman was sitting next to me, and she was Oriental, and we were talking, and I was telling her about my television show, and I said, well, let me give you my card. So I did. And that whole time through that lecture, she held the card in her left hand while she made notes with her right. And she never put that away until she left. And this is a way of honoring the person that they're talking to, or with them, so that they always remember who they are and what they do. And so what we do, we tend to get somebody's business card and stick it in our pocket.
It's true, yeah.
And the Japanese don't do that, which I think is very interesting. So if you didn't know that, you do now.
I do now. Normally I would save the cards. I put them on a card index.
Right.
But it's such a fast pace, I was always shove them in my pocket.
Exactly. But you see, you don't really identify the name with the person, and that's what they tend to do. So these lists of these Toshiba, Takamura Friendly, who are these people?
Large Japanese corporations that have an interest in Hutchison Effect and free energy. Definitely free energy.
Free energy.
And 0-point energy especially is their passion, to try and exploit it, understand it, make it into a usable product. Okay, and so for this audience, 0-point energy is 249 degrees below zero. Is that We're getting down
Kelvin?
To the Kelvin scale where thermal activity stops, but however...
They say that it stops.
Yeah. But still, there's that 0-point energy or movement of jitter activity of electromagnetism that have been captured, and every scientist to Nobel Prize winners, including Dr. Richard P. Feynman, says that the different sizes, they give different sizes from 1 cubic centimeter to 1 cubic foot. And in that space, there's enough energy to power the Earth's energy needs for anywhere from 100 years to 1,000 years.
And so how do we access that?
Through the Casimir cavity research that Casimir discovered that these two little metal plates can produce power if they come together. That's one avenue. Robert Forward, another physicist who I admire, has presented us out in very nice, very, very nice, simplistic terminology, and explains it in such a way as does Dr. Robert Close. So when you have these charged plates coming together, and they should move together in space and time, you produce power and energy. But the plates have to be charged.
So how do you charge them?
Well, just by applying a small amount of direct current.
Is this something anybody can do?
Not really, no.
So we haven't quite gotten it to that point yet.
I have to give credit to Dr. Franklin Mead. He has a U.S. patent on a 0-point energy device. And this was 1996, December 31, that he applied and was accepted the first time by the U.S. Patent Office. Get my line straight here. The U.S. Patent Office on a 0-point energy collecting device, which people can look up and see, wow, this is fantastic. So he's using ceramic materials to collect this incidental bombardment of these electromagnetic fields.
That's interesting that he's collecting them now. Is he able to transform that into a usable form?
Well, I hope so. I have never seen the device in reality, and I've never met Dr. Franklin Mead, but I do hope that is the fact there. So I was inspired then that this is accepted by the U.S. Patent Office through my friend Tom Ballone. And during the first demonstrations, the 50th anniversary actually at Hiroshima City, covered by JOGM TV, I gave a demonstration of a Oscar-shaped device. And when I gave that demonstration, it was covered by 2 TV people.
That's this one?
Yeah. This one here.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm not sure how to go about this.
Okay, that's all right.
I want to show the relationship of the size of it.
Sure.
Let's just pick up this one here, because this shows the size of this unit. Okay, so tell us about this briefly, and then we're going to show the generator over here.
Sure. Basically, it was put out around a volt, and sometimes under 1 ampere. I was able to drive a small motor with it.
Really?
So I took it to Hiroshima City and demonstrated it quite well. I remember I got kind of nervous when it didn't start to work, but however, it did work. And after the demonstration, I took the thing all apart, and still with the 2 TV people, the cameras right in there, portables. I took the thing all apart, spread out, and said, look, no batteries, which in my opinion is the best way to give a demonstration.
That is. But we do have that footage on that, so they can get that queued up, and we can show that. It's just a very short segment. And then this is what?
This is a larger unit that I had made, and this one never made it to Japan because of safety regulations by the aircraft. Yeah, they indicated to me that self-reactive materials aren't allowed actually to be transported over because they could destroy the aircraft.
I see.
So that one didn't make it, and later on that particular machine was 3 volts and 3 amps and was tested. And we took it to the Canadian Research and Development people for an alternative energy source, and they just looked at it without any interest, and then eventually it started to break down. I didn't bother to...
This, you mean?
Yeah, the big one there.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah. So basically I didn't bother to really pursue fixing it. I just discarded it.
Wow. Well, we've got that clip.
Oops, lost my cable here just a minute. There we go.
We can at least show, this is a real tight shot on that, so why don't we get this real tight so that the viewers can see this. So this is, what is this composed of?
Composed of basically a lot of little plates and stacked in one another that are charged. And they're tuned up and down by pressure. And what happens when you get a resonance effect, much like a Casimir cavity resonance, what these crystals do is charge up a larger crystal underneath, a man-made crystal. And this sets an oscillation up where this thing will put out an amazing amount of power. But there's one downfall, is that these wafers start to break down over time.
So you have to replace them periodically?
And that's very expensive.
Well, maybe you're going to have to figure out some inexpensive way to do that.
Basically making solid non-moving part technology.
Well, that would work. Yes, that would work. And now here is a larger shot of this generator. Is that what you call it? Mm-hmm. You have another name for it?
Well, zero-point energy collector.
Zero-point energy collector.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. And this kind of reminds me of the, it just left me, the particle accelerator, you know, where you have this circular thing that they're trying to get some response, a huge thing, and here you've got this machine, you know, just trying to get something really minuscule.
Which is converted from the high end down to direct current, usable power.
Oh, you mean to tell me that this goes down into direct current?
Yeah, it takes your high 0-point energy, only a small fraction of it. It works its way down to where it can put out direct current.
Oh, interesting. All right.
Same with the other one. So you get a usable power, but it fluctuates quite a bit.
This is curious because I know the physical body uses direct current, but we use alternating current now since Tesla in our homes and so forth. So would we be changing to direct current for this kind of a thing, or would we, if we went, assuming that this would end up and we would have free energy as a result, would we then no longer have AC and we would be going to DC instead?
If the machine was available for every household for a reasonable price, I would say yes to that, because the wire lengths from a machine like that is not great. Whereas if you had one central unit that was using DC, then your wire losses are so great that the alternating current would be very...
Right. I think some people don't understand the difference between direct current and alternating current. Direct current, they just have all these antennas all over. They'd only go so far.
But still, incorporated in this, you could put an inverter that will convert over, let's say, to 60 cycles per second.
Really?
Because you don't want to throw out all your machines.
Yeah, I was wondering. I'm trying to figure out, I'm envisioning this, this nightmare of what we do with everything we've got that runs an alternating current.
Because you don't want to throw out everything you own. You would have an inverter. And perhaps a lot of electronics and that could be eliminated through direct current over time in more modern applications as portable PCs and laptops and other many devices, cell phones and all that stuff. So
I like that idea.
Yeah, it would eliminate a lot of pollutants, especially batteries and all sorts of horrendous things, and maybe even, in the future, perhaps even replace the internal combustion engine.
Hey, now there we go.
Now that's far out speculation, but I think it's going to happen someday. I doubt if I'll just initiating a small program here where this will be out there in the marketplace, and other scientists and other teams can take over and perhaps bring that to reality.
Well, the potential is there.
The potential is there. It's like a small spark, but...
Well, but all ideas start with a small spark.
Trying to get something like that out as only as a novelty item, where you have a detector that gives you voltage and it goes up and down and reverses polarity and that. So.
Okay, now what about this reversing of polarity?
Apparently, I've sent out the solid machines that have non-moving part technology.
Now that's this machine?
Oh no, that's moving part technology.
Okay, all right. I'm trying to keep all this straight because if I'm confused, I know my audience is too. So I want you to just be real clear on this,
just
John.
Like a solid rock, just like a square solid rock with two little wires coming out, and it can be surrounded in silver, a silver container, or it can be a round ball, about that size, like a tennis ball, but it does produce power. And one of the side effects of this thing is that it seems to have healing properties, and it seems to actually go up to 10 volts and it'll drop down to 0, and then switch total polarity.
Now, is this some of the research that you've got there?
A friend of mine, Grant Romand, I made him a couple of these little machines. It's called the Crystal Converter Power Log. And he had an interest to show people that he trained in the paramotor gliders in Southern California, and some of these people are my Star Trek heroes.
Yeah, I know that. I saw William Shatner's name on there.
Yeah, he has Captain Kirk, as I call him, or William Shatner.
Larry Hagman.
Yeah, has an interest in free energy technology. Grant is a very brilliant kid that I feel has a lot of potential to connect. And so does Shatner. Has a lot of faith in him. They have what they call football.
Foot what? What?
Football night.
Football night?
Yeah.
And what do they do on football night?
Watch football.
Oh, I thought you meant that they used that for a name for something else they were doing. Oh, I don't know.
It seems that a lot of people down there in Hollywood have an interest in alternative energy and ecology. Dennis Weaver being one of the
so.
strongest, and Tony Robbins is another one.
Oh, yes.
And quite a number of Steven Segal, who I met personally, has a great interest in Tibetan, the Rinpoche, new ways of thought, and he's just doesn't want any part of the Hollywood phoniness stuff. He wants to see a better world, and he has a high interest in ecological devices too.
Well, I think it's great that, beyond the silver screen, so to speak, that they have interests that are more expansive.
Oh, very much so. It's big down there, and to them, they do their stuff, and okay, that's a movie, and then they just, okay, forget about it. It's a job to them. Their real interests, a lot of these people are into alternative energy, propulsion, and alternative health.
That's interesting.
So it's down there, it's like a huge conglomeration of people from all walks of life.
Yes, well, it's true. It's a melting pot, for sure.
Yeah.
On this healing device that you said is, the size of a ball or block or whatever, this was, are these the little rocks that you have been imbuing with energy?
Yeah.
Oh, and tell us about that. This is very innovative.
But 1995, when I made these solid little devices like that with the two wires coming out of them, people started noticing if they would come to them, they would pick them up and they start feeling that their migraine headaches are disappearing, and they go into trances and they get rid of certain pains, and they were illnesses. And I'm thinking, in Canada, after some months, 12 people. I thought, well, I don't understand. This is very interesting. So I decided to make a decision to write to Dr. Hal Pudoff, a friend of mine who's expertise in this energy.
Well, Hal Pudoff, yes, he's very famous in his own right, and psychokinetics and all that kind of SRI, wasn't he? He was
SRI. No, he's with.
But he was there, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Stanford Research Institute, for those who don't know what SRI is.
Anyway, he visited me in '93, and we talked about energies, that if these energies have an intelligence, and he agreed they do.
Wow.
So
they all have an intelligence.
In '95, I sent him a fax, but he didn't respond back to me. So, although he wanted one of these devices to test himself for power, but he couldn't answer me the healing application. So what I did was send one off to Yin.
Now, Yin, for our viewers, is
a movie producer,
movie producer, and your lady.
My lady. And she really knows her stuff, and is a true genius in movies. So she took it to down there, and she was showing different people, and the same thing was happening.
Amazing.
So on our little visit down to Steven's house,
Steven Segal.
Yeah, she gave it to Tasha Powers, who's working with Steven as a journalist and preparing a lot of information on him. She's got a website, by the way. And Tashi was holding it, and she said, yeah, she could feel something. So then Steven, he was holding it, and he's holding it like this, and I think he was eating something at the same time, and I had the telephone over here, and he said he felt something. And then being very busy in that kind of world, you have to answer telephones and keep appointments. He was quite interested in that, and he invited myself, Ian, and Chris to an in-house private 4-hour Tibetan ceremonial thing at nighttime. Yeah, really something special.
Wow, interesting. Well, now, what happened when he took this? That he was noticing, as I see on these on this listing, there is a change in millivolts.
Yes.
For going from positive to negative and back and forth, really almost not really oscillating, but certainly showing variances. And you're saying that this is reading the energies?
I am speculating it could be reading environmental energies in regards to how people have used these devices or copies of my devices for detection of oil, gas, and minerals from aircraft.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I just learned that about 2 weeks ago from Alexander. who you met the other night there, he made something similar. He cooked something up on the stove, and that's what he says about this thing. And it made one person quite rich, Pinnacle Oil International.
Interesting.
Extremely rich. This
Really?
oil gas detection machine. So.
Wow.
So there's something here that I don't fully understand. I see parts and pieces, but I would need more expertise in understanding what really is going on with these little generators.
Yeah, it sounds like this being able to detect I presume the locations and so forth. It almost sounds a little bit like dowsing, doesn't it?
Yeah, but this is real power measurements.
I understand that,
yeah.
but I mean, it seems like we're dealing with similar energies through different mediums.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious because we take readings off of corners of buildings.
That's amazing.
Within 50 feet away. And we were doing this way back in the olden days, in 89, 80.
In the olden days, 89. I love it. This is great.
Way back in the olden days, 89. Walking around
fabulous.
the meter and old diodes that were subjected to high voltage, germanium diodes that were subjected to high voltage and had excess electrons somehow.
Well, aren't we dealing with electromagnetic fields?
We're dealing with electromagnetism or some type of doorways, I'm sure.
I mean, otherwise, everything has energy. Everything is energy, and there must be, radiating off of this, and that's what it's reading.
Everything is energy.
Everything is energy. That's it. I say this over and over. Everything is energy.
But you take the Casimir cavity, where you need these two large plates to capture this 0-point energy.
Yes.
I thought, well, this is a problem. Who wants to have these huge plates around? So I thought, why not? Why can I not make maybe small miniature plates, maybe several 100,000 of them, and also excite them the same way with a memory of high voltage?
Ooh.
With rocks and minerals in this, grind it all up, pour it hot, hit it with high voltage, and sure enough,
whoa,
the memory's incorporated, the crystallization takes process, much like in, let's say, a piece of metal is cooling down, crystallization.
Great. Let's hold it there. We'll come back and discuss some more of that.
Okay.
And we'll be right back with some more on Evolving Ideas with John Hutchison. I'm Elaine Smitha. Welcome back to Evolving Ideas. I'm Elaine Smitha, interviewing John Hutchison, who's an inventor and scientist from Vancouver, BC, in Canada. And we've been discussing something that he has created in answer to a need. So, John, let's continue with this about these plates of energy and how you converted those for those who might just have tuned in.
Oh, for sure. On the Casimir cavity resonances, you need two large metal plates to capture any small amounts of power. I thought this would be a major problem. So I said, well, why can't I take, understanding crystallography and crystals, why can't I take minerals and grind them up, heat them up, and pour them?
Well, it makes perfect sense because minerals are crystalline. Well, of course, a lot of things are crystalline.
Sure.
And so that would make sense because you're really only grinding up something that's larger, and it still has all the properties. It's like a hologram. The smallest grain has the picture of the whole. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Am I doing okay with this?
You see, you're doing okay.
So you pulverize these, and then you heat them. Is that what you did? And you charge them with ions.
High voltage.
High voltage.
30,000 volts.
30,000 volts of energy. Now, those crystals would retain that energy, wouldn't they?
It's when the crystallization process is going on, when it's cooling down. Excuse me. The high voltage makes a crystalline pattern in there that it recognizes. The high voltage is applied, 30,000.
Right.
So
the crystals
is cooling at the same time, so the crystalline grows out.
Exactly. It almost forms what it was initially, don't you think?
In a way, it's memorizing that. It has to memorize negative and positive. And that doing that, it will capture this 0-point energy, in my opinion, and it converts it into direct current.
It's
up to I've had one that was about that big, and it produces up to about 1.5 volts. But you see, the interesting part about these things too is that you can put them in series. A bunch of them all down there, and then you put them in parallel, series and parallel, and you get added up energy.
They're feeding off of one another.
Yeah, they're built like batteries. They build up energy. The more you put together, the more volts and more amps you have. So I'm involved right now with a German team to develop a small 10 to 30 watt prototype of these power generations, and then the novelty item as a backup in case I run into some problems, which I kind of doubt. But the novelty item would be like almost like a tricorder, where you could carry it around. It reads different things, and so the Star Trek tricorder.
Oh yes, we're Trekkie here.
Oh, darn right I am. It's all coming true. But it would basically, in this technological area of expansion of knowledge all over the world, in my opinion, this thing would sell like hotcakes. Because, hey, look at this. This reads all these things. And all the ones that I've given away, people are still have them. They love them. They will not give them up, and they carry them wherever they go.
Really?
So the market there, marketing agent could take these quotes and hit ABC World News or one of these major networks, maybe through like William Shatner or Larry Hagman.
Yes, right.
To endorse it. To add that.
Oh, I don't think there'd be any problem there.
Oh no,
I mean, you have enough here.
He's rather excited about that. But if that happens, then what I want to see is that it goes off on its own, sells worldwide, much like mood rings or the hula hoop did.
Oh gosh, pet rock.
Yeah, pet rock.
This is going to be a different pet rock, John.
This is different. This is working stuff. But with the option that companies have the options to develop it into other things if they want to. But if I get a royalty commission because I want to let go after a time, I don't want to be devoted to this all the time. So that I can return to the Hutchison Effect research to work with time and gravity and that kind of interesting things and do my showmanship Tesla type experiments, preferably. It'd be kind of fun actually to do them right on a major stage or something.
That would be exciting.
And the government, I can just see it now. The government's coming around. Well, Mr. Hutchison, please come with us. So you'd be so helpful. And I said, no. But nevertheless, if I can release it through my scientific colleagues properly, they can carry it to the right locations and get things going that way. Such as Ken or Dr. Elizabeth Ann Rauscher.
You have a lot of support, John. You have such a team of people around you who love you and really honor what you're doing, and they want to encourage you.
Oh, they're very nice, kind, very extremely brilliant scientists.
Well, that says something for you too.
Well,
you're sort of known by the company you keep.
Well, they're good people. I mean, well, I guess I'm good too, but
absolutely.
But, they can, like my friend Mark Solitz, he knows more stuff than I would. I don't even know what he's talking about half the time.
Well, we all have our specialties.
He's a brilliant scientist, and I kind of get upset to see him stuck in Shreveport.
Oh, well, he's there, I guess, because he feels he needs to be there.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about this. You call this rock soup?
That's what the newspapers call it.
The newspaper did an article here. Called it rock soup.
Something I wouldn't recommend people eating, but nevertheless.
So how did you manage to come up with this concept?
This concept, basically through amateur radio, T. Henry Morey's experiments with transistors in 1927, and the Casimir cavity and space charge technology, I just decided to try this experiment. I remember doing it.
The title of this. I want you to see the title here. Yeah, this is the title of this article. See, rock soup and strange science. Well, in some circles, they really consider you to be really bizarre.
I love it. More bizarre, the better. I hope, I was trying, if I can get a TV company to have the John Hutchison's Stumbling Scientist show where I can make people laugh. I love making people laugh, really. And I have done that in some of my lectures. And that gives me, for some reason, great enjoyment. I start laughing more, and they start laughing more. I remember one in Vancouver I gave, and I made some mistakes or something, and they started all laughing, and I said, wow, this is cool. I started laughing, but I got the thing straight. But
I think that makes them feel like you're human.
I guess so, but being bizarre is fun.
Well,
I wouldn't change it for all the tea in China.
No. Well, I don't think, yeah, we wouldn't want you to change, John. I mean, you're just, you're just perfect the way you are.
Thanks. That's some...
Well, being strange is not all that bad, but when you came down here from Canada yesterday, you had a problem at the border.
Oh my God, yes. That was cute. I was with my friend Alexander, who worked with me in the late 80s on the levitation experiment with Mum. They're beautiful people from the Soviet Union, and I was there, and Alec was kind enough to drive me down. So we get to the border, crossing into the United States, and we're pulled over for some reason. And I just said, well, I'm going down to do a TV interview. So they take us around. We have to go through immigration. So, of course, they asked for the keys for our car, for Alec's car. And he disappears, and as time moved on, like 20 minutes to a half hour, I'm thinking the guy comes back and somebody else goes out with him. We're not allowed to be there, apparently. I thought you're supposed to be. So within an hour's time, what transpired was this guy was reading all these documents here, all this stuff like the old Reagan stuff and the metal samples, stuff from Clinton, Bill Clinton, this little card, and this to me for some reason.
What does it say?
It's to Mr. and Mrs. John Hutchison, and it gives my address and all that in New Westminster, Canada. It says, "Happy anniversary! We're delighted to join your family and friends in wedding." What? Not wedding. Sending congratulations as you observe this milestone in your life together. Best wishes for many more such celebrations in the years to come. The odd part about this thing, it was mailed from D.C. on the 18th of June, which is Yin and I, which is on the 19th of June anniversary. I don't know this guy. I don't know Captain Clinton.
Captain Clinton. Well, he thinks he's captain.
I don't know the guy, and I made a photocopy.
You mean our president?
Your president, yeah. I don't know him. And I get a card in the mail. I got the original in here, and this is a photocopy of it, and has the presidential seal. But getting back to the custom stuff, they were going through this stuff, trying to figure out what the heck is this Hutchison character.
Yeah, I bet.
What are these weird metal samples? What are these vitamins for? And what else was in there? They spent an hour.
You had videotapes.
I had videotapes, and they came back, and we were free to leave. And I said, well, okay. And then I gave them a lecture. I said, well, your government came to our country, and because they're asking, how do you do that? How do you break that metal apart? I said, well, during the old Ronald Reagan Star Wars program, your government came to Canada through Colonel Alexander and Bob Freiberg in Los Alamos to set up a lab, and we did 4 months of demonstrations. However, and I've done it for the Canadian government, but however, I also do it for TV networks. And the guy,
you blew him out of the water.
He was blown. Really? He says, yeah. I said, well, look for TLC. You'll see it again.
Which is the Learning Channel.
The Learning Channel, and you'll see it around the Fox TV thing. This happens to every time I go through customs. Either they want to know how they can get Star Trek pins.
Okay, you have a Star Trek pin.
Yeah, and then I'll say, well, here it is, and here's, and then if I show them our Deep Space Nine adventure with Herman Zimmerman, set designer.
Well, let's take it out, and so we can show
Oh, yeah, sure, sorry.
How do we do this?
So sorry. This is when we're invited in, it's in Boston.
That's right.
That's in Quark's Bar, 1997, which makes a Trekkie's dream just like, do you know how a Trekkie feels to be invited onto a lot like me? In La La Land. I was walking around the Paramount lot just like, is this real? Is this happening?
John, people do that when they go to your laboratory. They want to know if this is real.
My vitamins and my pipe in there, and then Herman Zimmerman is over here. That's his girlfriend, Linda McLean, who we were guests at her house. Gene Manning is in the center there.
Oh, yes, Gene's been a guest on the show here.
And then she'll confirm all that. and Yin and yours truly. And I mean, here I am in second. Really, I'm in Star Trek land. This is real. This is Paramount. This is like, wow. This is hot. Like, there's some photos of me where I look like I'm spaced out too much.
Yeah.
And I saw Catherine Janeway doing her stuff across the lane there, and I was waving like this to her. God, Catherine. She could wave back, and I said I was going to ask Herman, who was going off back to his office. I thought I better not. This is pushing my luck to get a photo with her, and I thought, oh, something told me maybe I better like get the...
You carry your camera around. You want to get these photos with these pretty girls.
Darn right. Kitty cat.
So what happened?
Well, I chickened out by asking Herman, because I was pressing my luck with Herman in the first place. He said, you're not allowed to take anything of Star Trek. But Herman said there's no guards around, so you can have 3 photographs. And he got somebody to take the photographs with him in the photo.
Oh, marvelous.
It's very kind of him. And he spent a lot of time with us, showing us all the different sets. Hey, I was on a Klingon warship. I was on a Jemadar ship. I'm at Quark's bar at the Doppelplay with solid metal, this thing. I thought it was plastic. Yeah! Man, this is hot. So, after leaving that, Linda goes over into the concessionary where it says Paramount Studios, and there's matches. Then there's the Gene Roddenberry building, and I had my camera. I was taking picture after picture after picture of the Gene Roddenberry building. And some guy just comes along and says, oh, no photographs. And he says, huh? I go like, huh? And he says, I'm just kidding. So I had all these pictures of the Gene Roddenberry building pillar.
Yes, I saw those pictures. You have those in your folder. I mean, this is amazing. I mean, you'd almost be treating it like it's some secret place.
Well, it's just I guess they don't want to know how the sets are made.
Yeah, I think to break the illusion.
I don't know if my illusion, I am still attracted to Star Trek very heavily. I was amazed at the engineering and simplicity of the sets, and yet the fineness of it. But it is kind of a downer when you get in there. Oh, geez, the black curtain going by with holes in it as the stars. It's not real, you know. And then,
yeah, well, they can do all kinds of crazy things on television and movies, you know, to make it look real.
So I was but I was in La La Land just to be around that, you know. And then my first encounter with Star Trek was in '94 in a lecture in Denver, Colorado, where I met Kirk Thatcher.
Really?
He's played in Star Trek #4 in the Whales, co-producer of it with Leonard Nimoy, who met Yin, and they got along into talking movie talk, and that's where I'm lost. And Kirk was such an easygoing guy. He says, well, if you're down in Glendale, come, here's my address, private address, drop in and stay. So we stayed there for, at least we stayed there for 3 weeks.
Oh my.
In his house, and he was showing us stacks of papers with Leonard Nimoy and Kirk there. So I just saw Kirk just some months ago in LA. We went out for dinner, and I took my video cam on video cam. He didn't mind it. He's into Muppet productions now, and Yin actually filmed him. But
really?
I'd never pull a video cam out in front of a star. No way.
No.
No. Stephen's Gate only. I got Stephen's Gate about 5 times as it opens. Okay, gate. And his house, but not him. I wouldn't do that. That's cruel.
Yeah.
That's being superficial and egotistical. And
well, you know, talking about a little bit about Star Trek is that they have been so advanced in their storyline and inventive and so forth. And you made some mention how NASA was not so happy about having some of this made known to the public.
Well, that would be through Mark Solis's work. Now, Mark Solis is way ahead of NASA in his presentations and has won #1. Now, Gene Roddenberry did run into, as history recorded, some opposition. The Navy would come down and say, where is you getting these ideas from? And basically, Roddenberry's dreams are all coming true, and it's interesting to note that William Shatner is going to put out a book on this.
Yes.
And this prompted me to send as much material as I can to help out to Grant Romand, who is close to William Shatner, to present him the proper material. So I have all this di-lithium crystals, which exist, that I got from Fort Worth, Texas.
And they do.
And they are actually part of di-lithium crystals exist in other space-time. I have 2 real samples from Fort Worth, Texas. It's documented by the New Westminster Police Department as they intercepted a package one time.
Oh.
In New York. At a Montauk base, it's called. And the NYPD took a fire hose to this thing because they thought it was a bomb. But came back with these documentation referring to di-lithium crystals.
So I think this is. I want you to talk about that just a minute.
Sure.
To expand on that, because this is not necessarily known to exist here on planet Earth. Is that correct?
This is correct. But there are physical review letters are written about it that are accepted by the scientific community. There's reports of something called the Mansfield weapon, that is the confiscation of weapons by the police on these kind of weird crystals that generate this power. So that I was told by the Special Forces guy at Fort Worth, I have all this in writing, that only about 4 ounces of this dilithium material exists on this Earth.
Where did it come from?
Nobody seems to know. Some say it comes from Mars, and others really don't know. But I do have the samples. They are very unusual. I have not experimented as requested by this person at Fort Worth. However, I made copies of all the literature, letters, and documents and sent it to. I said, now is the time to release it, so I sent it to Grant Romund in Ontario, so that he can take it down to William Shatner in Studio City to present and put out in his new book, along with a metal sample I sent too, a small one. So, I believe Grant will carry that mission out okay. That Gene Roddenberry's ideas are coming into reality. We're getting into microcomputers where you're just going to have a cube. You talk to a cube and it's going to do all sorts of things, like in Gary 7, a Star Trek series. To me, it's amazing, and I like it. I like the technology coming through.
Can this dilithium be duplicated?
Heraldine Lithium Laboratories tried to duplicate it, but they couldn't. Well, it's down oddly enough, in Oceanside, California, where I was staying with Gary Young, and I'm thinking, I missed out talking to the Heraldine Lithium Labs.
Well, next trip.
Yeah.
You can always get down there.
Sure.
Gene Roddenberry was really a visionary, wasn't he?
A true visionary, and regarded as in the same league as Nostradamus.
Really?
It was an arts and entertainment TV show on him, with his wife, Majel Roddenberry, lovely person in real life, and with Nostradamus and a few others as true visionaries. Actually, Gene was a great inspiration to me in his projection of his television series in my quest for keep on going, so to speak.
Never give up.
Never give up, yeah.
And that's a good lesson for all of us. Never give up.
Never give up.
You have a dream, you keep at it.
Yeah. Because he seemed to present these things that were very psychologically constructed, was presented to the public, and actually that's how you got the groups of Star Trekkies that...
I'm sure that's true. By doing it in that manner, you could reach a lot more people, and it wouldn't be restricted by government intervention.
This is true.
That's the way.
I think Gene had a vision of the New World Order thing, and that's why you have Majel finding these stack of papers in her basement there after Gene died on Gene Roddenberry's Earth Final Conflict.
Really?
Yeah, that's what was brought to my attention by Mark, I believe. He says, you look at that and look what's going on. It's similar to this New World Order thinking, where the New World Order wants to control everybody's vitamin intake and many other things. They want to
control every moment of your life, practically.
Yeah. No, I think Gene Roddenberry did see this, presented the script. Unfortunately, he passed away, and Majel discovered the stuff, and she's got it out on this Gene Roddenberry's Earth Final Conflict.
Interesting.
It's fantastic. So Gene, hats off to Gene. He inspired me, and along with a lot of these scientists, as Tom Bearden, Jack Houck, and many others, they started this to keep on going.
Well, I think we need to do that too. I was thinking earlier of the cartoon strip of Dick Tracy.
Oh yeah.
And how he would have a watch with the two-way speaker and television, on the wrist, and I mean that was a visionary cartoon strip, predicting things of the future. that they had then, and that was many years ago. And I remember my dad really thought the Dick Tracy cartoon strip was just crackerjack. But it might be interesting, to go back and just review those discoveries that they had, well, maybe not discoveries, but their inventiveness of what they were doing in different aspects of that cartoon strip, because in a way they were setting the pace for the future as well.
Exactly, which is all visionary cartoonists, people, artists, preparing the foundations for the future, and it's all coming true, and it's happening exponentially.
Exactly, and even Superman. The idea of being able, to fly through space, and propel yourself. This is still part of that anti-gravity aspect. And so, eventually we will be able to do that. Do you see this happening?
Oh, of course. These things are going to happen. There's going to be so many things that, like Grant and I spent 5 hours on the phone the other night talking about the same thing, about how if we were to talk about radio to the U.S. Patent Office in, let's say, 1850, walked in there and wanted funding, they would say, oh, you guys are absolutely basket cases. How could you have a box talking way over there? It doesn't make any sense to them. It's always the case. History teaches you the future in a way. And all this stuff's going to become a reality. We're going to see computers that are just going to be something that you just actually wear around your wrist, and it'll do everything. It'll GPS. Position you can talk, you can do everything. It's going to be, I anticipate and I guarantee, since also I even guarantee that the Fountain of Youth would have been discovered soon, I guarantee that through the computer technologies it's going to become a new life form.
That we will become a new life form, or we will be creating a new life form?
We will be creating a new life form.
Is that with the genetic engineering? Do you think that's
they're going to be incorporating that into computers, along with molecular engineering, and there's going to be a new life form come out of this. So it's a challenging future. We have to be wise to know what we're doing, and not play God or get egotistical. This is going to happen no matter what. So the world is going to have many dramatic changes. I see it coming, and it's happening fast.
And the life extension really will prepare us to move into that realm.
In a way, yes.
Because they're living so much longer. I mean, I always tell everybody I'm going to live to 150 and then I'm going to renegotiate.
I think that's what I'm going to do, too.
Yeah, because there's so much to learn and so much to do. I mean, I don't have enough hours in the day now to do everything I want to do. And so many things I want to learn about. And you just have to keep on doing this. And I think as we grow in our own awareness, increasing that awareness, that we are changing and modifying our body to accommodate the new environment. And
discovering alternatives helps us to reboost our enzymes and reactions. And I've been on my own health thing for life extension for 9 years. I feel like I used to do when I was in my teens, for Pete's sake.
I think that's wonderful.
So it is amazing, and I do my own program, my own structuring. Mm-hmm. It's expensive, but I do it, and I'm happy with it. You got to make it a lifestyle. You got to be dedicated to it.
It's true.
Yeah, and say, oh, it doesn't work in 2 months, and throw it out the window. You don't do that. You have to be persistent.
Never give up.
Never give up.
Never give up.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we do have to give up our time because we've come to the end of the show.
Uh-oh. Not again.
Yes, but we won't give up on doing this another time.
Okay.
That would be really fun. Thanks ever so much, John, for coming down from Vancouver and sharing with us all of your inventions and knowledge, and it's just wonderful.
It's been my pleasure to really be with a wonderful lady like you.
Oh, well, bless you for saying so. It's wonderful.
Most welcome.
And to my viewers, I want to thank you very much for tuning in. I'd love to hear from you if you drop me a note at WebWorks, P.O. Box 3695, Olympia, Washington, 98509. I'd like to hear your comments about the show. And join me next time when we explore yet one more avenue of our universe and our relationship to it. I'll see you then. I'm Elaine Smitha. you.